Kif kull min isegwi b'mod regolari dan il-programm jaf, il-Maltin ġewwa l-Kanada joffru tiżwieqa sabiħa u interessanti illi tiġbor fih dana nies illi għamlu suċċess minn ħajjithom. Xi wħud kif qegħdin ikollna x-xorti li nuru huma artisti, illum magħrufa u rispettati. Fis-servizz tal-lum u f'dak ta' bħallum ġimgħa konna mistiedna ta' Joseph Calleja, pittur skultur veteran li llum huwa meqjus fost l-aktar li kisbu suċċess f'din ix-xaqliba tad-dinja. Joseph illum għandu l-fuq minn 92 sena, madankollu għadu attiv joħloq opri tal-arti b'xi wħud meqjusa bħala avangardisti, ewlenija fosthom l-arti kinetika. Sibnieh jistennina fl-istudju tiegħu f'Kingsdale Avenue ġewwa Toronto. Spjegalna kif ilu l-Kanada 60 sena. Emigra fis-sena 1958 u kienet il-passjoni tiegħu sabiex javanza fl-istudji artistiċi li waslitu hawnhekk. Infatti, Joseph li twieled fix-Xewkija u dex fl-1924 kien diġà għallim żagħżugħ promettenti qabel ma ħalla x-xtut ta' pajjiżna. Kien studja l-Iskola tal-Arti taħt il-magħruf Edward Caruana Dingley bejn is-snin 1945 u 1947.
When I look back all those years, I was in London studying art. I had left, before I went to London, I was teaching art in Gold. I had a very good job. But by 1955, I felt that the opportunities, the facilities in Malta were not good enough. So I decided to take 3 years leave without pay from the Board of Education. And I registered in the Regent Street Polytechnical Institute in London for a course in art. That after I had already taken a course at Oxford University from the British Council as a British Council scholarship. And while I was in London, 55 to 58, I had asked for the Maltese government for a scholarship. And after a year, the Maltese government gave me a scholarship on the condition that on graduation, I would go back to Malta, teach for 2 years. And if that failed, I would have to pay all the money back. Well, by 58, I had met my wife, Gina. We got married. Wedding at the Church of St. Cecilia, Kingsway, London. And I decided that instead of going back to Malta, I was always adventurous. I said, I'll give up the scholarship, I'll go to Canada, and we'll repay the money. And that was a very difficult decision, to repay the money. It was a lot of money. Repay the money, go back, and come to Canada. I always wanted to see the new world, and that was an opportunity. Anyway, we arrived in Canada, but before we arrived in Canada, both my wife and I had secured a teaching job in Canada. So I relinquished my scholarship in Malta, relinquished the 8-year service I had with the Board of Education in Malta, and gambled really, to come here. I didn't know what to expect. I didn't know anything about Canada. And I remember when we were interviewed for Canada, I got a job in Winnipeg. I didn't know where Winnipeg was. And it turned out that Winnipeg is the coldest city in Canada. I had never seen snow before I came to Canada, because in England the snow drops for 2 minutes and it disappears. But the first week in Winnipeg, it snowed so much. It was such a record snowfall that they had to close the schools and everything came to a standstill. And we didn't have clothes for the winter in Canada. It was cold and terrible. Anyway, in Winnipeg, we had a tremendous welcome, and I started teaching. And the first thing that impressed me was coming from Goats or coming from Malta, how huge Canada is, how immense. And when winter sets in Canada, you are isolated from the rest of the world. They used to call Winnipeg the coldest city of its size in the world. That shows you. Well, anyway, to cut it short, we spent 3 years in Winnipeg. We enjoyed it, and I got another job in Hamilton.
F'Hamilton, belt oħra Kanadiża, Calleja għex 7 snin jgħallem l-arti. Jisqar li dawk kienu l-aktar 7 snin importanti ta' ħajtu.
Once I came to Canada, I was exposed to all the different experiments in modern art that there were, not even in England, especially because Canada being so close to New York, I had close contact with the New York school. I was seeing what was going on in New York, and the movements that were here were far more amenable to my interest in exploring the possibilities. Because after you spend all your time studying nude studies, landscapes and still lifes, that's not all there is to art. So I started experimenting, in Hamilton especially, with different kinds of printing, monoprints, and I entered the competition. This was 1963, I remember, and the National Gallery of Canada bought one of my prints. I have one of my prints in the National Gallery of Canada. It was a big push, you know, when your work is being recognized by international body. Following that, I got very interested in kinetic art. Now, kinetic art is a movement that involves motion. By motion meaning motion, not painted motion as somebody punching or somebody, but actual movement, either induced by the wind or by electricity. And I started experimenting with that. I was a kind of pioneer in that area here in Canada. And I remember the first exhibition I had in kinetic art was very well received. In 1972, the library in Windsor, Ontario, all these names sound English, but we have a Windsor in Ontario, built a new library. And they had a cross-Canada competition because they wanted 6 artists to put murals in this new library. And there were 140 artists entered the competition. And the 140 artists had some 250 contributions, proposals for this competition. And they chose 6 artists out of those 100. And I was one of the 6 artists. And I have a mural in Windsor, 16 feet by 32 feet, huge kinetic mural in Windsor. And that was a very big push, of course. And after that, I had another big exhibition here in Toronto. And my work was being well received. People were buying my stuff. And it was very encouraging. I couldn't do this. And as you can see here, I have all the equipment to produce this kind of work.
Il-ħin ma jippermettix li nibqgħu insegwu lil Joseph Calleja jirrakkontanna kif l-esperjenza ta' ħajtu fil-qasam tal-arti enitu javvanza u jibni isem għalih u għall-arti tiegħu. Fil-programm ta' bħallum ġimgħa inkomplu nsegwuh fl-istudju tiegħu ġewwa daru f'Toronto. Dan il-pittur u skultur veteran jisqar illi għadu żagħżugħ f'qalbu u għad baqalu kontribut xjoffri fil-professjoni tiegħu. Ibqgħu magħna.